The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. A story you think you know even if you haven't read the book. And if you haven't read the book, then chances are that most of what you know about the story comes from Saturday morning cartoons. Written by Robert Louis Stevenson and first published in 1886, the story of Jekyll and Hyde has had an enormous influence on pop culture, intriguing audiences for generations. And in animation, Jekyll and Hyde are up there alongside other horror icons like Dracula and Frankenstein as favorites to adapt, homage, parody, and spoof, as animators have used the story and its central characters to have endless fun with ideas like duality, the nature of good and evil, as well as the idea of a monstrous alter ego. And the infamous transformation potion has become a staple of cartoons. Today we're paying homage to the story of Jekyll and Hyde in cartoons and animation throughout the 20th century. While there are no animated adaptations of Bram Stoker's Dracula or Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, there is in fact one animated adaptation of The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Burbank Films was an Australian animation production company that, in a span of 8 years, produced over 30 different animated film adaptations of various classic stories and novels. And one of their more notable and infamous was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, an animated retelling of the classic tale released in 1986, 100 years after the story was first published. The plot of the film is portrayed as a true story from 20 years earlier that Annie, Dr. Jekyll's maid, recounts to 2 children. And aside from being the only full-on animated adaptation of the work, the film is also known for being incredibly violent, with a much higher body count than even the original story, despite the film being aimed at kids. Most of the murders are committed off-screen, and the ones we do see are pretty cartoony. And Burbank's film was the closest we got to an accurate but still child-friendly animated rendition of the original story. Up to this point, Jekyll and Hyde had already had a long history in cartoons and animation. The 1933 Mickey Mouse cartoon, Mickey's Gala Premiere, featured the first animated appearance of Mr. Hyde in a cinema watching a newly released Mickey Mouse cartoon, with Frederick March portraying his Academy Award-winning performance of the character from the 1931 film Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The first animated adaptation of the character itself first appeared in the 1934 Willy Whopper cartoon, Hell's Fire, directed by Ub Iwerks, which showed Jekyll transforming into Hyde while marching in a procession with other characters through hell. A portrait of Dr. Jekyll could be seen transforming into a portrait of Mr. Hyde in the 1939 MGM short Art Gallery, while the 1940 MGM cartoon The Bookworm Turns, featuring the bookworm and the raven, was the first cartoon to be explicitly about Jekyll and Hyde. In a world where book characters come to life, Edgar Allan Poe's Raven from the eponymous story is feeling unwell and seeks a doctor, finding Dr. Jekyll, who ends up transferring the bookworm's brain to the raven. Mr. Hyde is the dominant character in this cartoon but transforms into Dr. Jekyll every time he hiccups. In 1944, Mighty Mouse Meets Jekyll and Hyde Cat introduced us to Dr. Jekyll's study, his laboratory, as well as his cat, who uses the doctor's potion to transform into a monster cat in the hopes of catching mice, in the first example in animation of the potion being drunk in order to change size or appearance. Warner Brothers animators were especially fond of the Jekyll and Hyde characters and story, and featured them in countless animated shorts. The first coming in the 1942 Looney Tunes short, The Impatient Patient, where Daffy Duck encounters Dr. Jekyll in the hopes that the doctor will cure Daffy's hiccups. Dr. Jekyll tries this by transforming into his hideous alter ego in an attempt to scare Daffy to cure his hiccups. Jekyll and Hyde would be referenced directly in another 3 cartoons, each one directed by Friz Freleng. In the 1954 Looney Tunes short Dr. Jekyll's Hyde, Sylvester the cat is being chased by dogs and takes refuge inside a place named after Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, where he accidentally ingests Dr. Jekyll's formula and transforms into an oversized, monstrous version of himself. Dr. Jekyll Hyde's plot followed the same formula as Tree for Two, released 2 years earlier, and featured the same characters, except at this time the cartoon was a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde parody. Dr. Jekyll himself appeared in the 1955 Looney Tunes short Hyde and Hare, where he adopts Bugs Bunny and after drinking a potion constantly transforms between Jekyll and Hyde, causing much chaos and confusion, as Bugs tries to protect the Doctor from his monstrous alter ego. And Dr. Jekyll returned in 1960 in the third cartoon directed by Freleng, based on Robert Louis Stevenson's novella, the Merry Melody short Hide and Go Tweet. The short again stars Sylvester, who follows Tweety into Jekyll's laboratory, where the canary falls into the Hyde formula bottle, and for the rest of the cartoon switches between his regular self and an evil bird monster. Hide and Go Tweet was featured in the film Daffy Duck's Quackbusters, with new animation showing Sylvester in Daffy Duck's office immediately after the original's ending. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde were recurring characters in the 1970 Filmation series Groovy Ghoulies, both appearing as a two-headed resident doctor of Horrible Hall, and who often fought as to which one of them was Jekyll or Hyde. One head is a normal, human doctor, while the other head is a green-skinned monster doctor. As a result, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde always have their own second opinion. Dr. Jekyll popped up again in a Pink Panther cartoon entitled Pink Lightning, released in 1978, in which the Pink Panther purchases a car once owned by the infamous Dr. Jekyll himself. The car is fueled by the Jekyll and Hyde potion and, like the Doctor, develops a split personality and takes the Pink Panther on a wild ride. Captain O.G. Reedmore was the fictional character host of the American television anthology series ABC Weekend Specials during the 1980s, and in the 1986 short Captain O.G. Reedmore Meets Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Captain O.G. and his friends are holding their Friday night book club meeting on a rainy night, with the book of choice for that evening being the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. When the book is opened, the butler character comes to life and kidnaps Wordsey into the story in an attempt to change its intended tragic course. Wordsey plays the role of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it is up to Captain O.G. to follow and rescue him. The grandson of Jekyll and Hyde appeared as a camp physician in the Mini Monster segment of the 1987 Rankin Bass production, The Comic Strip, while Dr. Jekyll was seen working as a doctor for Gravedale's monster community alongside his colleague, Mr. Hyde, in the 1990 Gravedale High episode Fear of Flying. A potion obtained from the mansion of Dr. Jekyll caused Scrooge McDuck to become hypnotized and give away all his money in the 1987 episode of DuckTales entitled Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Duck. The story of Jekyll and Hyde was referenced in 2 separate episodes of Garfield and Friends. The first in the 1991 U.S. Acres segment entitled Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Wade, which begins with Orson reading the story to his friends and even speculates that it wasn't a potion that transformed Dr. Jekyll, but a form of self-hypnosis, foreshadowing Wade, who later gets hypnotized and turns into a monster whenever he hears a bell. And 2 years later, in an installment of Garfield's Tales from the Microwave, Garfield tells the story while microwaving his dinner. In late Victorian England, Dr. Jekyll had just created a Diet Cola without any aftertaste, and tests it on a mouse, causing it to suddenly turn into a monster when he hiccups, and back when he hiccups again. Jekyll hires an exterminator named Jonathan, who brings along his cat to catch the mouse, which proves to be more trouble than expected, until the cat drinks the potion himself and starts to wreak havoc on the city of London, just before Garfield's pizza is ready. Pinky and the Brain met Dr. Jekyll in the 1994 Animaniacs segment entitled Brain Meets Brawn, where in another attempt to take over the world, Brain steals Dr. Jekyll's formula, which changes him into a terrifying monster when angered. And the episode featured the same design for Jekyll and Hyde from the Looney Tunes short Hide and Go Tweet. And later that year, Dr. Jekyll appeared in the live-action animated film The Page Master, as he is encountered by Richard and his friends before transforming into the villainous Mr. Hyde, appearing as the main antagonist of the horror arc, and is also one of the fears Richard faces as a test from the Page Master himself. Both Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde were voiced by the late Leonard Nimoy. A favorite trope for animators was the use of a transformation potion, a central element borrowed from the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. A potion, when used by characters, causes them to shapeshift or transform, either specifically or randomly, or imbue them with super strength, and very often only lasting a short while before wearing off at an awkward moment. A famous early example of the trope came in the 1947 Tom and Jerry short, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Mouse, in which Tom concocts a brew to poison Jerry, but the concoction instead temporarily imbues Jerry with super strength. Another classic example came in 1966 in the Inspector short, Sick, Sick, Sick. While searching a mad scientist's residence, the inspector's mild-mannered assistant Doo drinks a potion that turns him periodically into a dangerous monster that attacks the inspector. The first episode of Dynamite Dog Wonder, released in 1976, called Everyone Hyde, made use of this trope where an inventive criminal named Willie the Weasel invents a formula which turns anyone exposed to it into Mr. Hyde. Mr. Incorporated initially believed the villain to be the actual ghost of Mr. Hyde, a reference to Nowhere to Hide, an iconic 1970 episode of Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? The transformation potion would be a staple theme in Saturday morning cartoons, with either direct or indirect references to the story of Jekyll and Hyde, including cartoons from the 1980s such as Pac-Man and Popeye and Son, and throughout the 1990s, including Tales from the Crypt Keeper, Mummies Alive, and even the animated series of All Dogs Go to Heaven. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde have had a prolific history in Western animation, and have become popular stock characters, representing duality and alter egos, and the infamous Jekyll juice has become a favorite cartoon trope. I tried to make this list comprehensive, but please let me know in the comments what other appearances of theirs that you would include in this list, or other later appearances of theirs that you remember. If you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to subscribe for more content like this, and be sure to check out my other videos on horror icons in animation like Dracula and Frankenstein. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. Please like this video if it brought back any memories. Share this video with anyone you know who are fans of the Jekyll and Hyde story. And as always, stay tuned for more cartoon history.